to all my friends in the Middle East that are just going through a rough time. You know, you never really, I think it's really hard to empathize with people going through a war situation until you go through it yourself. So even if you've never lived through a war, pray for people in the Middle East. Obviously, there are wars going on in other parts of the war too, like Ukraine and Russia. I think a war between Pakistan and Afghanistan broke out recently. I've not followed the news. A friend of mine was just in Myanmar. There's civil war there. So there's wars everywhere. We are not in their shoes. I mean, that is if you're living in Singapore or any other country in the world that's not in war. But you can pray that they would not be afraid. Because honestly, the scariest thing that I went through when I lived through a very short war of 12 days was fear. I was terrified at times. There were a lot of emotions. I was excited sometimes. I was terrified other times. I was relieved. I was joyful. Oh my gosh, you name it. But yeah, the moments where I was terrified, it was really hard to get out of that. Like to get out of that mental loop of replaying horrible possibilities. Like, what if this happens to me and my family and my friends and my neighbors? What happens if the big if question comes up a lot? And the best thing that people could have done for me was to pray that the perfect love of Jesus would break all my fears. And he did. And he always sent people to be with me when I was most afraid. And I thought that was so sweet of God to do that for me every time. Yeah. And if you're not afraid, you can live through anything. Fear is what kills us, ultimately, I think, quicker than war itself. And the good news is that perfect love drives out all fear. So big hugs to my friends going through a war right now. Perfect love casts out all fear. And even though it feels like you don't have control anymore over the situation, it's in times like that where, wow, like that intimacy that you have with the Lord is so special. Like, I look back at my time of living in Israel during a war, and I was so close to Jesus. It was so intimate and sweet, and sometimes I want to recreate that. It's not that you can't have that in a situation of peace, but he's extra near when you're going through a very painful time. And I'm not just talking about war. Like, I've gone through some other difficult seasons in life, like very big spiritual warfare. I remember when I first moved to Singapore, there's like so much opposition and just lots of crazy things happening within my family. But Jesus was so near. In fact, wow. Okay, I will try not to cry as I share this story. First of all, I have not had explicit dreams of heaven or angels or Jesus, things like that. Like, I know of people that do, and even very frequently, and I don't, right? Like, I dream of weird things. Some dreams I have are really cool, but they're not necessarily about God, like I might dream about my friends. I might dream about, I have had actual dreams that were prophetic, that things that really did happen in the future, but like nothing about God. And this one day, it was a really hard day. I was living with my grandmother at the time, and because of various traumas that my grandmother has been through, sometimes she would have these outbursts, and sometimes in those outbursts she would say very hurtful things. And so there's this one day, I was so grieved and just sad because of something she told me and said about me and my mom. So I was very discouraged. But I went to sleep that night, and I had the sweetest dream of my entire life. I mean, my entire life. So I dreamt that I was sitting on the ground. Okay, so in my dream, I was back in my old apartment in Los Angeles that I was no longer living in because I was living in Singapore already. And in that apartment, I had a room that I would always go to when I wanted to pray. And it had a really nice carpeted floor, and I would always sit cross-legged on the floor. And this one day, in my dream, it was one of those days where I went to the room and I sat cross-legged on the floor, and all the lights were off, and I was praying in the dream. And then in the dream, I open my eyes and I see someone standing right in front of me, but he's so tall, his head is almost touching the ceiling. So I'm seeing like the bottom half of his body, but he was wearing a very bright white long robe, and there was a sash. I think it was red, but he was so bright that everything was glowing, and I wasn't afraid at all. Like, imagine you're closing your eyes and you think no one's in the room, and then you open your eyes and suddenly there's someone in the room. Like, that would totally shock you, right? But not for me. When I opened my eyes, I knew it was Jesus. And in fact, the first thing I said was, I knew you were real. I knew you were real. And he smiles, like I wasn't scared at all. And because he's so tall, he lowered himself, and he didn't say anything. Okay, I will try not to cry. He did not say anything. Wow, the dream is so real. I had the dream in June 2021. So it's been almost 5 years, 4.5 years. He just hugged me, and it was like, I cannot describe the feeling of absolute peace. Like, I've never felt that way before. I might have spoken about this dream in another podcast. I feel like I have. I feel like I've shared this story before, but maybe I need to share it again. Maybe someone needs to hear it. I was enveloped. It's like I was a little bird in a nest. And I was just, it's like every doubt and fear and insecurity just disappeared in a single moment. I still remember what that feels like. And I know that it had to have been God, because trust me, I mean, you might be thinking, oh, well, Jasmine, you were imagining this because you were going through a really, really hard time and you wanted to feel some form of comfort. Well, let me tell you, like, I'm a big hugger. I love hugging people. And I have amazing friends that have hugged me over the years. My parents also are huggers. So we're like a hugging family. So I hug my mom, I hug my dad, like all the time, every time I see them. And so if anything, I should have dreamt of like hugging my dad, for instance, or like maybe another person coming to hug me. You know, normally we dream of people and places that are familiar to us. But I'm telling you, like, there was nothing like that hug. Even though I love you, all my friends that have ever hugged me, like, your hugs have been a true source of joy to me, and I'm so grateful. But there's never been anyone that has hugged me and I felt like I mattered so much to this person that he would stop everything to hug me. So, and that was it. He did not say a single word to me in the dream. That's it. And the dream was over. So, and I have not had a dream like that ever since. But that, I just share that to say that that's the silver lining of going through really hard times, that somehow your spirit man becomes so sensitive to the care and comfort of the Lord. Not that he's not loving and caring for us when life is good, but I believe there is an extra grace that's imparted for hard times. And that's why 2 Corinthians 12 says that I will boast in my weaknesses, for when I am weak, the power of Christ tabernacles over me. The word tabernacle is like a picture of someone coming to like a roof coming to rest on top of you, like an all around covering. And that's why Jesus said in Matthew, he said to his own people, he said, how often I longed that I could gather you together, gather your children together, your young ones together, like a mother hen gathers her chicks under her wings. Like Jesus was saying that to his people who were hurting. They were being oppressed. The Jewish people at the time were very much oppressed. And yeah, like that picture that he's a comforter. Wow. Okay. Anyways, this episode has gone in so many different directions, but man, if you're hurting, I pray you have a dream of Jesus coming to hug you. It's like money. If someone said, Jasmine, would you rather have that dream or $5 million? I would say that dream. I will admit that I did double take right now because I do need money at this moment. I'm like, $5 million sounds really nice. But yeah, and I'm telling you, that dream, I wish I could have that dream every single night. Yeah. Okay. You know what? It is almost 2 a.m. I should go to bed. And yeah, that's my mom. Okay.